The other day, I decided to watch Princess Mononoke. I heard that it came out back in 1996 and hit America back in 97. But for years, people had been talking about it on and off around me, and I just never got around to actually watching it until recently. And I really enjoyed it. Princess Mononoke touches on so many different concepts and different vibes and ideas that really hit me in a way that I did not expect it to. So in this video, we're going to talk about Princess Mononoke. Going to give a little bit of a play-by-play of how it goes while introducing ideas and little things I noticed throughout the movie's duration. And I just want to get it out there. So, of course, if you never watched it, there's going to be spoilers in this video. And I recommend strongly that if you want to watch it blindly. It's a beautiful movie. One of the best that I've ever seen. I think it's easily top 10. But with that neither here nor there, let's get into it. In ancient times, the land lay covered in forest, where, from ages long past, dwelt the spirits of the gods. Back then, man and beast lived in harmony, but as time went by, most of the great forests were destroyed. Those that remained were guarded by gigantic beasts who owed their allegiance to the great forest spirit. For those were the days of gods and of demons. This is the opening line of the movie, and it does such a beautiful job of introducing us into this world and giving us a perfect one-line explanation to what we're getting into. This, in combination with the beautiful mountains in the backdrop and the warming music that kind of builds up over time, really sets you into the mood of this mystical world with things that we just don't understand just yet. And the pacing is just right for you to completely and utterly forget about everything else and just take in the moment. This brings us right into the main event as we watch a creature running through the heart of a forest, leaving nothing but a trail of death and destruction in its wake. Right after this, we are introduced to our main character, a boy and his best friend, which is an elk that he's currently riding as he runs towards a village, warning people about a demon that was wandering the forest. Chaos starts to build as the demon approaches the village with increasing speed, destroying everything that it touches with a fury and anger that is unrivaled by all life around it. This nameless demon runs around ferociously, hunting down every bit of life that it can. As it gives chase, it becomes more and more frantic and more desperate to kill whatever stands before it. But as the demon gets more desperate, the boy also gets more desperate in order to protect his village. The boy attempts to stop it, shooting arrows at it, but the demon shakes it off and redirects its course, showing some sort of signs of intelligence. But eventually, the boy gets close enough in order to strike it in the eye and single-handedly slays this nameless demon, but not without sustaining a gnarly injury to his right arm. The demon falls, but not without wishing death upon the boy and his people, and then ultimately decaying into nothing but bone and ash. From here we go into the main plot of the movie, as an old wise lady comes out, gives her prayers, and wishes the demon goes off in peace, and then delivers our main character the bad news. The boy's name is Prince Ashitaka, and the wise woman tells Prince Ashitaka that the demon came from the west and seems to be a boar that ate a poison that consumed him with rage, turning him into a demon. The prince is fated to die from the wound, or it will spread throughout his body and kill him, but he may have a chance to fix it so long as he is not guided by hate like the demon was. He leaves his people behind, for his journey forbids him from ever coming back. That right there was the introduction. It's what sets you into the world, lets you know what the main problem is, the main characters, and what the goal of the movie is, or at least the goal of the characters in the movie is. The rest of the story very much follows Prince Ashitaka as he travels more towards the west in attempts to find the great forest spirit, who is said to be the only one that could cleanse him of his afflictions. I took a lot of notes, a lot of them more focused on specific scenes and specific concepts that are brought up throughout the story. Looking over my notes, I noticed how often the film shows light and darkness and how they kind of coexist, not just within the great forest that Ashitaka is going towards, but in the people who are around and inside of it. Every character, human or spirit, carries both light and shadow within them. I think the best way to kind of show that is as he ventures more westbound, there is an abnormal amount of death, war, destruction, and it seems to just continue to grow and grow as he progresses further and further. But at the same time, we also see the beauty in a lot of these human civilizations that are sitting around, even though they cause so much destruction to the spirits in the forest around them. I think that leads us to our main kind of place that we bounce back and forth from, which would be Lady Eboshi's village. And I think it's there that the film's moral complexity begins to really shine. Lady Eboshi is the leader of a village that is well known for the amount of iron that it has, and it is in the process of going through cutting down the forest in order to get to the iron that is underneath it. It is actually revealed that this village was the one that shot iron into the body of the boar that eventually becomes the nameless demon that attacks the village in the beginning of the story. Lady Eboshi is kind to her people, but doesn't seem to care much about the spirits. She seems to uplift the people that are typically down lower in society. For example, at that time would be the woman. She also shows love to the ill. Even when they are ostracized from the rest of their people, she sees to them personally, gives them care, talks to them lovingly, and really doesn't show any animosity towards them whatsoever. I think something to add, if I could remember correctly, is most of the women that are in the village were actually lower class, like the bottom tier in their societies, doing very cheap labor and didn't really have much opportunities at all. And she gave them an opportunity by putting them in this village, and she gives them the power over the men that are there as well. We even see one of the highlights of her character, how the good kind of shows out through her when she shows the prince her private quarters, where far away from everybody else is a hut full of lepers, which are pretty much just people who are inflicted with leprosy, a disease that is quite horrible. And in most societies, it is seen as taboo to even be close to them or even touch them. But she's seen being close. She's also seen not scared of any of their afflictions and just embracing them. I think a quote that I really enjoyed was one of the lepers are in the back of the hut, and they mentioned that, listen, Lady Eboshi does destroy the forest and she is against the spirits, but don't take that personal. She shows us love. She shows her people love, and she always puts us first. I think I want to read a quote that I really liked. It was a leper that was obviously suffering and he couldn't even really stand up, but he dropped a bit of gold in terms of this. He says, "Life is suffering. It is hard. The world is cursed, but still you find reasons to keep on living." This kind of leads us to her dark side. Lady Eboshi wants to kill the spirit of the forest, thinking that it would free Princess Mononoke and give her people access to the iron underneath and hopefully be able to harness the power of the forest itself, allowing her to get an edge over the villages around her and bolster her people to a level never seen before. Our main character doesn't really like her position, but he also understands that she's not completely evil and understands the good that she does for the people that she loves. And just now, I just mentioned Princess Mononoke, which I wanted to highlight her as well because she would be on the opposite scale of Lady Eboshi. Princess Mononoke, or San, finds humanity as disgusting and vile to the point where she can't even accept her own humanity. Being abandoned by her parents and raised around spirits seem to have made her set in her ways in a way. But interestingly enough, still she has a soft spot for the prince. And speaking of him, he seems to hold a space in his heart for both man and spirit, and also seems to never abandon his tradition that he was raised on, even when it seems completely crazy for him to do so. It's kind of like three different sides. The princess and Lady Eboshi would never get along, but they're all blessed by the Great Spirit in the end, regardless. Which I guess is a perfect way for me to start talking about the spirits themselves. The spirits are actually quite similar to humanity. I honestly couldn't really tell much of a difference between them other than their beastly forms. For example, the mother of the wolves, Moro, she detests humanity. She detests most other spirits really, but she pledges her allegiance to the Great Spirit nonetheless. The same is true with the boar god, which can only really be best described as a warrior. He believes in fighting no matter what to the very end. Even though the two spirits are extremely different in the way that they handle things, they respect each other and they understand each other's positions. Even to the lesser spirits and the lesser animals, they all seem to have their own funny little ways that they interact with each other, and all have a history that affects their dynamics in many different ways. Honestly, yet again, I really couldn't tell much of a difference between them and humanity. The line blended in so much, to the point where really they were one and the same. This leads us directly to the great forest spirit himself. Seems to be a being of complete and utter balance. During the day, he is a elk-like being that just walks around and seems to be content with how it's living its life. At night, it turns into this monstrous spirit. It looks very similar to that water spirit back in from Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I believe the two of those are supposed to show light and darkness within the great forest spirit. For I believe that just like everybody else, it too has light and dark within it. We kind of see this after it gets killed, or really just beheaded. A monstrous demon emerges from the corpse in search to reunite with its head. Everything that great demon touches dies and rots, just like demons from before. Of course, the prince eventually finds a way to get the head and the body to reunite, but by the time they did it, daytime had arrived and the sun burned away the remnants of the great spirit. But before it died, it cleansed the affliction of the prince, and he was cured of his afflictions. And although he was cured, he was still changed forever. And so was Princess Mononoke and Lady Ibushi, which again really highlights what I was saying, that even within the light of the great spirit, it held a great darkness. And I think that the reason why the great spirit helped the prince was because the prince was very similar to it. I feel like the two of them were basically one and the same in how their natures worked. There are times that the prince shows extreme anger and resentment, but he harnesses that and uses his power in order to do what he feels is right. He doesn't pick a particular side. He tries to stay in the middle. He tries to stay balanced, just as the great forest spirit. I really enjoyed that movie. It was really nice. I feel quite odd though, like there was supposed to be more, but maybe that's just my yearning to see what comes next, and I imagine that's exactly what they wanted you to feel. I want to see that boy grow up. I want to see Princess Mononoke grow up. I want to see how their bond grows over time. I want to see what the spirits would do now that the spirit of the forest is gone. But yet again, perhaps that's the point. Maybe I'm supposed to wonder and think about what's to come next. But to close this, as it said, the spirit of the forest lives within us all. May the blessed spirit continue to guide us forever and ever. Good night.